All right, everybody. Thank you so much for clicking on this little podcast. My name is Chuck Prentner. I am Director of Franchise Development with Right at Home. A lot of you are probably already talking to me, but really what my role is simply to guide people through an evaluation process, see if Right at Home is correct for them. Today, what we're going to do is have a 15-minute franchisee interview. And what we do then is just to really allow you to get an inside look at some of the actual folks that own and operate Right at Home and make it what it is. Joining me today is Claudine Marosi-Dein, as well as Scott Dein. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess where we start out, I'm going to ask this one to you, Claudine. Where are you located? How long have you been been part of the system, and how many territories do you have?
We're located in the Detroit metropolitan area. We surround Detroit. I got into this in 2014. After a wonderful career in orthopedics, I was on the finance side of that, and I did that for many, many, many years. And decided at one point that I didn't want to be behind a desk anymore. I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
So after about 18 months of research and having aging parents at home that needed help, I came to this realization that this is what felt right for me. So at the time I was a single mom, so it was a little scary, but I cashed out my retirement and I bought into the franchise. So initially, I bought 2 territories, which was a portion of Detroit and then some surrounding areas downriver from Detroit. And then those were non-existent when I purchased those. So I worked those territories, and then a year later, the third territory came up for sale, which was actually existing. It had been in existence for about, I believe, 7 or 8 years prior to me buying it. So purchased that, and now we own about, I would say, 85% of Wayne County, Michigan. And we have 2 offices, and here we are.
So if I get this right, you were a single mom and you consolidated your resources and you started a business from scratch.
I did.
That is an amazing story. Now, who's this guy sitting next to you, and how's he fit into the business?
So fast forward a couple of years after I was in business, I met Scott, and he was my sounding board for many, many, many years. I used him to bounce quite a few things off of him during that time. But fast forward to June of this year, we were married, and now he works in the business with me as well, although he started about a year ago, right? He came
After a 6-year trial period.
Yeah.
So you're literally married to the business.
Yeah.
So, Scott, what was your background before you jumped in or jumped on a train going full steam?
Well, I tell you, and thank God I had prior exposure to sales, marketing, and I owned a franchise business, Snap-on Tools franchise, 6 years. So predominantly sales. I sold cars, new cars with Chevy dealer for many years. And then I started the Snap-on Tool franchise because I was a car guy and I wanted to be involved in car related things. But so it really was a huge asset that I had, that exposure to all the sales training, the franchise training that I had with the business, that when Claudine and I met, there were so many parallels, and that you have to have an entrepreneurial mindset. You've got to change your brain from an employee to an owner. And so, it really was a huge benefit that I knew those things, because she was maybe 2 years in business when we met, and developing from scratch. She didn't have a client base. So, had I not had all this training, it may have been a little more overwhelming.
You're saying you wouldn't have gotten married, right?
Well, just like, her, the small successes and failures, and not that she had failures, but just as things, sometimes you think things are gonna just rocket off the charts, and they make very small gradual progressions. And to have the stamina, and fortitude to stick with it,
Mhm.
have you. And it did, there was continued growth all along, but sometimes your expectations um exceed what the market will do for you.
Well, I understand you're a car guy. You got into aftermarket franchising. It's a natural progression to get to senior care.
Yeah,
You
right.
can see that right away.
But the training, the philosophies, there's so many parallels that thank God, like I said, that is all paying dividends now. At the time, 20 years ago, when we were going through training, sales training and whatnot, um, you know, it just sinks in, and there is a big conversion from being an employee or an employee's mind to being an entrepreneur or an employer, and head cook and bottle washer, all at one time.
So let's go back to 2014. Claudine, you're looking for a business. You're a single mom. Why did you choose Right at Home?
Um, I researched probably for about really honestly, I researched for about 18 months on
Wow.
what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something. I knew I wanted to build something from the ground up and make it my own. And so saying that, that said, I really wanted to take my time and figure out what I wanted to do, because I wanted to make sure I was doing the right thing
Mm-hmm.
first. So I looked on every franchise website. I gathered so much information from other franchises, and um, I stumbled across Right at Home on one of the franchise websites, and without sounding too cliche, it just felt like the right fit. Um, I don't know what it was. I started researching it, and then I met with the team there. And like I said, as my peers were aging, I realized the need for this. So after I met with the team at Right at Home, I just really felt like this was it for me. This was what I wanted to do.
Super. Walk me through a typical day. And I know that's kind of a joke. There is no such thing as a typical day. So, Scott, run me through a typical day for you. And Claudine, tell me what's a typical day for you.
There are some very stable, consistent, predictable days, but things can change at any time. But the beginning of the day, you know, and one thing with this business, a lot of it you can do as you're running around. You
Mhm.
can monitor. The first thing you do in the morning is look at the schedule. We pop up the schedule on the computer, on our phone, take a look at it in anticipation of start times and things like that. And you just got your eye on the schedules, the pulse of the business. So that's the first thing you look at, when your eyes open, whether you're on vacation or not, you're going to take a look at that. And you're always, proactively thinking about what's happening through the day, and watching things, people punch in, people punch out, and try and make some anticipations for the latter part of the day.
I'd say, the one thing I will say is, we're here every day. Scott and I, we're here every day. And I think that kind of sets us apart from our competitors, because we are so involved in our business. A typical day can be running around the territory, doing meet and greets, assessments, networking, marketing, getting in front of referral sources, or it could be in the office, interviewing, making phone calls. I mean, sometimes it's just complete chaos. You don't have a plan for the day because you get here in the morning and it just blows up. And then there are days that it's unpredictable what your day is going to look like. there are days we get in here and it's kind of quiet. We get a chance to catch up on all the things that we didn't get to do from the weeks before. And it's kind of
Sounds like every day is a little bit different.
a little different.
A
Yeah.
lot of mornings we'll schedule client interaction, new client consultation or assessment. We'll schedule those on our way into the office. Geographically, we're south of our office, so we'll schedule a couple meetings on the way in, or meet and greets when you're starting a new case, or you might just do a kind of quality check on some of your accounts with the caregiver on site. And we plan a couple of those things on our way to the office. And then by the time you get there, in our office, we've got 1.5 persons in the office for scheduling. So they're keeping feet on the ground at the office or out in the fields.
So let me ask you guys this, because we're just about out of time. Keep in mind, anyone that's going to be looking at this is considering becoming part of Right at Home. What's a piece of advice that you might want to give someone that is considering joining Right at Home?
My advice is just I know, buying 2 undeveloped territories. I was working probably 20-hour days. I mean, it was insane what you have to do to start your own business. And you wear many hats, right? It's your baby. You're trying to get it off the ground. You're wearing a lot of hats, but you have to invest in your infrastructure. I didn't initially. I thought I was Superwoman. Turns out I'm not. And I was exhausted after 2 years, but I say invest in your infrastructure and trust the system.
Some of the things, if you think about, your product is service, so the more devoted you are yourself to your business, the greater your reputation and your referral sources. We don't, when we think about other types of, whether it's a franchise business or what have you, we don't have perishable commodities. Your client base is never ending. You're never going to run out of old people. So the stability of the business, I think, is highly dependable, given your hard work and dedication to your own franchise or territory.
Right.
So from that, I'm very optimistic for ourselves and our partner Right at Homes around us. We all operate similar operating principles and have great relations. So I have a great deal of confidence in the business model itself.
Super. Well, Claudine, Scott, I thank you both so much for sharing some of your time today. And hey, continued success helping the people out there in the field.
Thank
Nice
you.
meeting you.